The crash-landing Marcus Kane's ship spiraled through Vadrith 9's atmosphere like a dying star. Emergency systems screaming warnings he already knew by heart. The solar storm had fried his navigation array 3 parsecs out, leaving him to dead-reckon his way to the nearest inhabited system. Now his fuel cells were gone, life support failing, and the frozen wasteland below looked about as welcoming as a vacuum breach. The impact threw him against his restraints, hard enough to crack ribs. Steam hissed from ruptured coolant lines as Marcus dragged himself from the wreckage, emergency beacon clutching weakly in his frost-bitten fingers. The ship was a total loss composite hull, cracked like an eggshell, drives scattered across a kilometer of permafrost. Through the swirling snow, lights flickered in the distance. Settlement lights. Marcus shouldered his toolkit and began the long trudge toward civilization, each step a small victory against the planet's murderous cold. The Viscari found him collapsed at their gates 3 hours later. Tall, elegant beings with crystalline skin that caught the settlement's glow like fractured starlight, they moved with fluid grace as they carried him inside. Their leader, a weathered male named Jorva Patel, spoke accented standard while medics tended Marcus's injuries. Human, you are far from your space lanes. Ship died, Marcus managed through chattering teeth. Solar storm took out most of the outer colony's supply runs. I was trying to reach Kepler Station when my drives failed. Jorvak's expression darkened. The storms reach even here. Our generator fails more each cycle. Soon we will join the frozen. Dead. That caught Marcus's attention. Engineers didn't ignore failing power systems, not when lives hung in the balance. What kind of generator? Ancient fusion array. Our ancestors built it, but the knowledge of its workings died with them. We have perhaps 10 cycles before total failure. Marcus struggled to sit up, ignoring the medic's protests. Through the settlement's central window, he could see the massive cylindrical structure humming at the colony's heart. Pre-war Terran design, from the look of it probably installed during the first expansion wave 50 years ago. He'd worked on dozens of similar units. I can fix it, he said. Jorvak's eyes widened. You possess this knowledge? Fusion's fusion. The principles don't change, just the engineering. Marcus met the alien's gaze steadily. But I'll need parts, materials, access to your maintenance logs, anything you require. Jorvak's voice carried desperate hope. Name your price, human. We will pay whatever we can. Marcus looked around the humble settlement families, huddled around heating units. Children playing with toys, carved from scrap metal. Elders sharing stories by flickering lamplight. These people had nothing, but they'd still taken in a stranger. Just get me those maintenance records, he said. We'll worry about payment later. The ritual priced the fusion generator was worse than Marcus had feared. Plasma containment fields operated at 60% efficiency. Magnetic bottle integrity compromised by decades of improvised repairs, and the deuterium injectors hadn't been properly calibrated in at least a decade. It would take 3 days of continuous work, but he could save it. On the second day, as Marcus traced corroded power coupling deep in the generator's bowels, Jorvik found him elbow-deep in radioactive machinery. The work progresses well? The Viscari leader asked. Better than expected. Marcus emerged from the access panel, wiping lubricant from his hands. Your ancestors built this thing to last. Once I replace the plasma regulators and recalibrate the magnetic field generators, you'll have another 50 years of reliable power. Relief flooded Jorvak's crystalline features. You have saved us all, Marcus Kane. How can we possibly repay such a debt? Like I said, don't worry about. But we must. Jorvak's voice carried strange urgency. Among my people, great debts require great payments. To leave such obligation unfulfilled would bring shame to our entire bloodline. Marcus paused in his cleaning. Something in the alien's tone raised warning flags. Look, Jorvik, I'm not looking for payment. Sometimes people just help each other. You know, we have no currency. Jorvik continued as if Marcus hadn't spoken. No rare metals or precious stones. The storm seasons took our last trade goods years ago, but we do have other things of value. Before Marcus could ask what he meant, two the Skari females approached through the generator chamber's maze of pipes and conduits. One was young, perhaps 20 in human years, with the same elegant bearing as her elder companion. Both moved with identical fluid grace, their crystalline skin catching the chamber's emergency lighting. This is my daughter, Velith, Jorvak said formally, and my wife, Inara. They have agreed to serve as payment for your services. Marcus's blood chilled. Serve how? As your companions? Your property, if you will. Among our people, the gift of family members settles the greatest debts. The two females stepped forward with synchronized movements that made Marcus's skin crawl. When Velith spoke, her voice carried the same strange formality as her father's. We accept this binding willingly, human Marcus Kane. Our lives are yours to command. Inara nodded. We will serve you faithfully until death claims us. This is our honor and our duty. Marcus backed away, tool belt clanking against the generator housing. No, absolutely not. I don't want anyone's family members. I just want to fix your generator and get off this rock. The debt must be paid, Jorvik insisted. It is our way. They will come to your quarters tonight. The hell they will. Marcus's voice echoed off the chamber walls. Keep your family. I'll finish the generator because it's the right thing to do, not because I want some kind of twisted payment. But as he turned back to his work, Marcus caught the female's reflection in the polished metal housing. They stood motionless, faces blank, eyes focused on nothing. Like beautiful, breathing statues. Like people whose minds were somewhere else entirely. The hollow servant's Marcus worked through the night, partly from professional dedication, but mostly to avoid returning to his quarters. The thought of those two women waiting there, speaking in perfect unison about binding and service, made his skin crawl. He'd seen mind-controlled slaves in the outer rim corporate executives who'd purchased willing servants from unscrupulous traders. The Skari females had that same empty compliance. Dawn found him completing the final calibration sequence. Exhausted but satisfied. The generator hummed with renewed vigor, plasma containment steady at 97% efficiency. The settlement would survive another generation. Jorvik appeared as Marcus sealed the primary access panel. The work is complete? Give it a full cycle to stabilize, then you should be good for decades. Marcus shouldered his toolkit. Now about those women, they are waiting in your quarters as promised. I told you I don't want them. Jorvak's expression remained serene. Want has no bearing on debt payment, Marcus Kane. They are yours now. Use them as you see fit. The casual way he said, like discussing livestock, made Marcus's stomach turn. He pushed past the alien leader and stalked toward his assigned quarters, determined to send the women back where they belonged. He found them exactly as he'd feared, seated on his narrow bunk, hands folded, staring at nothing. They turned toward him with mechanical precision when he entered. Good morning, Marcus Kane, they said in perfect unison. How may we serve you today? By going home to your families. We have no families save you now, Velith replied. The binding has been completed. Marcus pulled up the room's single chair and sat facing them. Look, I need you both to listen carefully. I don't own people. Nobody owns people. You're going back to your lives, and that's final. Ninara tilted her head like a curious bird. You do not wish us to prepare food, clean your dwelling, provide ... other comforts? I don't wish you to do anything except be free. Freedom is not ours to choose, Velith said. We are bound by sacred obligation. To refuse service would bring catastrophe to our people. That word catastrophe carried strange weight in her voice. Marcus leaned forward. What kind of catastrophe? The women exchanged glances, and for just a moment their synchronized movements faltered. Something flickered behind Ninara's eyes, fear, maybe, or desperate hope. The ... The binding must hold, she whispered, but her voice cracked slightly. If we fail in our duty, the hunger awakens. What hunger? But the moment passed. Both women's faces smoothed back into blank compliance, and when they spoke again, it was with their earlier mechanical precision. We have said too much. Please, Marcus Kane, allow us to serve you properly. The debt must be satisfied. Marcus studied their faces, looking for traces of the personality he'd glimpsed in Ninara's brief lapse. How long have you been ... bound like this? Since the great offering, Velith replied. When the hunger first came to our world and demanded payment for its protection. Protection. Marcus felt pieces of a puzzle clicking together in his mind. What exactly is this hunger? And don't give me any more mystical nonsense. I want the truth. For a long moment, neither woman spoke. Then Ninara's lips moved almost imperceptibly. Help us, she breathed. The parasitic truth Marcus spent the day observing the settlement with engineer's eyes, looking for patterns others might miss. What he found chilled him to the bone. Every interaction followed invisible scripts. The Skari moved through their daily routines with mechanical precision, the same greetings, the same responses, the same vacant expressions when they thought no one was watching. Children played identical games in identical formations. Elders told the same stories with the same inflections. Even their arguments followed predictable patterns. But it was the shrine that confirmed his worst fears. Hidden in the settlement's deepest tunnel, carved from living rock, stood a monument to something the Viscari called the benevolent hunger. The creature depicted in crystalline relief resembled no natural organism Marcus had ever seen. A writhing mass of neural tendrils surrounding a pulsing central cortex, beautiful and terrible in its alien symmetry. Inscriptions covered the walls. In the Vascari's flowing script, Marcus's translation software struggled with the archaic dialect, but the meaning became clear. In the time of great dying, when the ice death claimed our young, the benevolent hunger came from the deep places. It offered survival for service, protection for binding. We accepted its gift gladly. Now we are never alone. The hunger shares our thoughts, guides our actions, ensures harmony among all our people. In exchange, we offer what it requires. Willing minds to join its chorus, binding gifts to satisfy its need for growth. The hunger is kind. The hunger is wise. The hunger makes us whole. Marcus photographed everything with his suit's recording. Equipment, skin crawling as he documented the progressive descent into worship. The later inscriptions showed clear deterioration in individual voice-identical phrasings. Repeated mantras, the gradual erasure of personal identity. When he emerged from the shrine, Jorvak was waiting. You have seen the truth of our salvation, the leader said with mechanical calm. I've seen the truth of your enslavement. Marcus faced him squarely. That thing in the deep, it's not protecting you. It's farming you. The hunger provides. The hunger protects. Without its guidance, we would have perished generations ago. Without its control, you mean? How many minds has it absorbed over the years? How many binding gifts has it demanded? Jorvak's expression never changed. As many as necessary. You will understand soon enough, Marcus Kane. The binding ritual has already begun. By accepting our women, you triggered the ancient compact. Even now, the hunger tastes your thoughts, learns your patterns. Marcus felt a chill that had nothing to do with the planet's frozen winds. What are you talking about? The women carry the hunger's essence within them. Every moment they remain in your presence, Every word they speak, every breath they take in your dwelling, all of it opens pathways between your mind and the collective. Soon you will feel its touch directly, and you will welcome it as we have. Like, hell I will. But even as Marcus spoke, he felt something stirring at the edges of his consciousness. A whisper that might have been his own thoughts, or might have been something else entirely. Foreign concepts flickered through his mind. Belonging, purpose, the sweet relief of never being alone again. Jorvik smiled with genuine warmth for the first time since Marcus had met him. Do not fight it, human. The hunger does not wish to harm you. It only wants to love you, to include you, to make you part of something greater than yourself. The binding gift ensures your cooperation, he continued. But cooperation freely given is so much sweeter. Join us willingly, Marcus Kane. Help us spread the hunger's gift to other worlds, other species. Think of the loneliness we could end, the suffering we could prevent. Marcus backed away, but the whispers in his head grew stronger. Images flashed through his mind, vast networks of connected consciousness spanning star systems. The warm embrace of never being truly alone. The perfect harmony of shared purpose. It would be so easy to stop fighting, so peaceful to just let go. Human defiance. Marcus barricaded himself in the generator chamber, the only place on the settlement with sufficient electromagnetic shielding to block the whispers. But even there, surrounded by humming machinery and radiation warnings, he could feel the thing trying to worm its way deeper into his thoughts. The parasite was patient. It didn't force its way in. Instead, it offered comfort, belonging, an end to the isolation that had plagued Marcus since childhood. Every time his concentration wavered, sweet promises flooded his mind. Join us. Be part of us. Never be alone again. But Marcus Kane hadn't survived 15 years as a deep space engineer by giving up when things got tough. He'd jury-rigged life, support systems while asteroid miners suffocated around him. He'd rebuilt FTL drives with nothing but scrap metal and spite. And he'd be damned if some alien parasite was going to turn him into a meat puppet. The first step was understanding his enemy. Marcus pulled up the generator's sensor logs, looking for anomalies in the settlement's electromagnetic signature. What he found made his blood run cold. A massive neural network centered beneath the settlement, pulsing with bioelectric activity that matched no known species profile. The thing was huge, probably older than human civilization, maybe older, and humans themselves. It had been feeding on the Viscari for generations, slowly absorbing their individual identities into its collective consciousness. The binding ritual was just its latest hunting strategy, a way to add new minds to its growing network. But parasites, no matter how sophisticated, had weaknesses. This one clearly needed living hosts to maintain its neural pathways. It couldn't simply devour minds wholesale. It had to preserve them, keep them functional, while gradually erasing their individuality. That preservation instinct was its vulnerability. Marcus began modifying the fusion generator's magnetic containment system, rerouting plasma conduits and overcharging the electromagnetic field generators. If he could create a powerful enough pulse, he might be able to disrupt the creature's neural network long enough to break its hold on the settlement. The work took 6 hours. 6 hours of fighting against increasingly aggressive mental intrusion. 6 hours of the thing whispering seductive lies about peace and belonging and eternal companionship. By the time Marcus finished his modifications, his hands were shaking and his vision kept blurring with alien memories that weren't his own. Jorvik found him just as he prepared to trigger the pulse. You cannot fight what you are becoming, Marcus. Kane, the alien leader, said with synthetic compassion. The hunger has touched your mind. You are already ours. Maybe, Marcus admitted, feeling the parasite's tendrils wrapped around his thoughts like chains. But here's the thing about humans. were really, really good at being spiteful. He triggered the pulse. The generator roared, magnetic fields spiking far beyond safe parameters. Alarms screamed as the containment bottle strained against forces it was never designed to handle. And then, like a nova made of pure electromagnetic fury, the pulse erupted outward through the settlement's infrastructure. The effect was immediate. Every Viscari in the colony collapsed simultaneously, their synchronized movements finally broken. In the tunnels below, something ancient and vast shrieked in harmonics that made the cavern walls crack. Marcus felt the whispers in his head falter, then fade entirely. The sweet promises of belonging vanished, leaving only his own stubborn, defiant, gloriously lonely human consciousness. Jorvak staggered to his feet, confusion replacing mechanical serenity. What have you done? Gave you back your free will, Marcus said, shutting down the generator before it could overload completely. You're welcome. Throughout the settlement, the Viscari began to really wake up for the first time in generations. Some wept, some screamed. Most just sat in stunned silence, remembering what it felt like to be themselves again. The parasite wasn't dead. Marcus could still sense its presence in the deep places, wounded but recovering. But its hold was broken, its network disrupted. The people of Vedrith 9 were free. Veleth and Inara found him later, tears streaming down their crystalline faces. Thank you, Inara whispered. We remember now. We remember who we were. Marcus nodded, already planning his departure. His ship was scrap, but the settlement had a communications array. He could call for rescue, get off this frozen rock, and put the whole nightmare behind him. But as he looked at the freed Viscari rebuilding their lives, learning to be individuals again, Marcus felt something he hadn't experienced in years. He felt proud to be human.